Hello and welcome to Masters of PR Live. I'm your host Vikram Kharvi, and today's episode is all about that beautiful overlap where impact meets influence and storytelling meets substance. Our guest today has worn many hats, right from being a brand strategist to policy communicator, CSR advisor, and corporate storyteller. From skincare and tech brands to public policy think tanks and AI ventures, she's helped shape how organizations show up and connect meaningfully. Please welcome Manmeet Randhawa, Director of Corporate Communication at Pure ID, a dynamic voice in India's communications and branding ecosystem. Manmeet, welcome to Masters of PR Life.
Thanks for having me over, Vikram. And I hope I'm able to give some vices and add some value to your show.
No, I'm looking forward, in fact, to a lot of insightful conversation coming from your end. And, I'm sure with a lot of years that you have spent in this industry, so much can be learned by all, including me. So let's start. Your brand is your story, just told with consistency, clarity, and conviction. So let's start with your story. What first sparked your interest in branding and communications, and how has your journey evolved over roles and industries?
So I was always very curious to know, that how people kind of get moved by certain brands and certain organizations. So I always thought that, there has to be something, which is a mix of psychology, consumer behavior, and communication was not just to, speak and tell people that, oh, this is what we want to convey, but it has always
Hmm.
been about how people perceive things and how you're moving people with your stories and how narrative building is done. So I was quite curious to get into this space, and I thought I was pretty creative when I was younger. So probably I could put it to some good use over the years, right? So yeah, so that was the reason why I wanted to step into this space, and thankfully, luckily, during my MBA days, when I got picked up by Built, and I still remember my that time retail head. Now he's a very very senior person in the industry, Amit Manna. So he was quite. He used to ask me a couple of times, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" And I used to be like, "I want to become a brand manager. I want to be into branding." So he always used to ask me to question, why do I want to be in branding? So every
Hmm.
time he would
Hmm.
pass, and I was a management trainee, every time he would pass my seat and he would ask me, Socha, समझ में आया? And I used to be like, why is he asking me things like this? That probably he thinks that I'm not sure and I'm just a kid from, fresh from MBA. And I'm
Hmm.
just like mesmerized by advertising and, telling stories and things like that. So he really pushed me to think it through and then decide whether after 6 months of my management training thing, I should move towards this side or not. But
Hmm.
yeah, so he got me thinking, and because of our conversations, and I realized that I actually wanted to tell stories. I actually
Hmm.
wanted to be in that space wherein I'm building narratives, right?
Hmm.
Where I'm trying to connect people with the product, with the brand, and trying to understand how things function. So, yeah, that's how my journey started. And
Hmm.
I was lucky that I was given executive stationery book group of products to start with as an assistant manager in Build.
Hmm.
And it had the most famous Bill's Black Notebook, which later on
Hmm.
Luxor also copied, and it was quite famous during our time back in 2009, 2010. So most of the executives, corporates, or the MBA students and college students used to carry those black notebook with those separators, different color separators, and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was managing that group of stationery products. So quite a good learning experience, and yeah, from there the journey actually started.
So was he the only influence, or like there are many people around us who, some in the family who have done that and probably tell you, okay, communication probably after listening to you the way you talk and all that, they tell you, okay, this is I think you should do. So was he the only influence, or you had somebody in the family also pushing you कि जा बेटा communications करने?
No, no. My father used to say that I talk well, and I should probably hone it, and I could do something better. So while I was in college, so I was always one of those kids who was always on stage. So either I was a host, or I was
Mm,
conducting something, or I was an extempore. So I was always a kid who was on stage, and I was
mm,
into event management, and I used to do all sorts of things, even in college, even in MBA, even later on, and even before I got into this space. I used to do that. Even like I'm from an army background, so we used to have summer
mm,
fest, to have a lot of other things. So I used to be mostly on the stage. So most of my
mm,
pictures growing up has been on stage with a mic. So
mm.
yeah, I think that kind of helped.
Yeah, interesting. You know, in the privacy first world, trust is just not a buzzword, it's actually a commitment. So, as the director of corporate communication at Pure ID, what does your current role demand from you strategically, and how different is it from your earlier stints?
So my role here in Pure ID, if I have to be simplifying it, is basically to simplify the complexities of technical aspects and
Mm,
the how. So because till now I have been working in different industries and organizations wherein I didn't really have to work on a product which is very technical or a B2B SaaS
mm,
platform to
mm.
say so. But Pure ID demands a kind of a clarity that comes only when my own technical know-how is, you
Yeah.
know, at par with other people, which is still not. I'm still learning, and I still, keep going to our founder Ajit Hati and a couple of other people in the team to understand what exactly are they doing and how things are happening. So the product is quite a complex, right? And like you said, trust is not a buzzword. So
Yeah,
here,
correct.
trust means the product, right? And cybersecurity is a very, very different discipline altogether, and
True.
communications in cybersecurity is a different discipline altogether. You can't dramatize
Yes.
something. You can't, exaggerate anything. You can't make a story out of just one word. So you have to be very, very uh, clear as to what you have to communicate, and also at the same time, uh, to simplify complex concepts, that is what is really required. So in cybersecurity, it is challenging. The role demands precision. It demands simplifying technical concepts without diluting the intelligence or sophistication of the product,
Mm,
right? So yeah, so and also you have to make trust visible. Now that's the most difficult thing in cybersecurity because
true.
it all
True.
depends on trust. It all depends on how your product is going to ensure that it is going to keep your organization enterprise secure, right?
Yeah.
So that I think that is the most difficult thing, to make trust visible to your audience and also not to dilute the essence of your product while communicating to your
Correct.
audience. Yeah.
Even I work with Kaspersky, and there are so much of restrictions while working with a cybersecurity company. You can't name your clients, you can't name the actual case that has really happened, that something has gone wrong, and the company has helped a certain specific client, which is the real story. But you can't really do that in this case. So you need to really keep on inventing different kind of storytelling techniques. That brings me. So your brand, uh, you know and impact walks together. Trust follows that naturally. And you have been navigating both corporate and cost driven sides of communications. How do you balance brand goals and societal impact, especially in the CSR driven narratives?
Uh, See, there are two, three things to it, right? One is that, especially in CSR and policy, and very, um, they are not agenda driven, right?
Yeah.
So most of the places, what we have to, kind of take an account is that how we are trying to see through a problem, or we are trying to
Mm,
come up with a solution, right? So there are different layers. So like my understanding for policy and communications and alliances and narrative building has been very, very different because I was working with a think tank, right, which
Mm,
was catering to all the tech giants. Now,
mm,
every tech giant has a different, what you call, plan as to how they want to do their CSR activities and how they can be completely in sync with what government wants to do and how we could
mm,
help them out. So that
mm,
entire process is very different. Every
mm,
every CSR activity has a different agenda to it. Like for example,
mm,
we did a while I was working with this think tank, we were doing this program with Amazon and Learning
mm,
Links Foundation, which was
mm,
to enhance accessibility of digital literacy, or to enhance people in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 places to get that access to have that online education. So they were working towards a space wherein they wanted to ensure that people, those who don't have access to laptops or to online education, they are able to access it. So there are
mm.
different activities that one wants to do, and then you have to build a narrative around it, and you have to plan things accordingly.
Right. You're talking about India Future Foundation, right?
Yeah,
The think tank that you're talking about.
yeah.
Okay. So you worked at the intersection of public policy, cybersecurity, and communications. What are the unique storytelling challenges in such highly technical and policy-driven spaces? Give me some examples. Like, there was this
What
challenge,
kind
and
of
probably
what kind of examples would you want me to, uh, you know, highlight
no,
or?
any that would be simply understood because when you say public policy and specifically a think tank like this, there's a lot that you cannot communicate, and certain things only you can communicate. That also there will be a lot of restrictions around that. How you
Yeah.
used to go around that?
See, policy and cybersecurity both are very unforgiving spaces. Okay,
Yeah.
so you are not just communicating a brand, right?
Mm,
What you're doing is
mm,
you're communicating implications. You're also communicating responsibilities, and sometimes you have to
correct.
communicate consequences also, right?
Yeah.
So when you're working in this space, you're working not just with one organization as a
Mm,
client. You're also working with state law enforcement agencies. You're also working with central ministries. You're working with
mm,
different agencies, those who are central government, state government, and you're trying to bridge a gap.
mm,
All right. So, say, for instance, we were doing this project, okay, and it was called Cyber Raksha Kavach program.
mm,
Now, in this particular program, the idea was that we had to reach to maximum number of MSMEs and give them
mm,
education about basic cybersecurity principles, right?
mm,
So that their workspaces are safe, employees are educated, and the basics of cybersecurity are given to each and everyone. So for
mm,
this, you have to get the correct experts of the domain in place. Then you have to have partnership with the central agencies. Like we were working with CII on this one. Then you have to have the accessibility to reach the public. Then both audiences and the kind of experts we have, they have to be equal in some form or the other, right? So to create that balance is a little tough, but then it is
mm.
not as simple as it seems.
Got it. Now let's come to the startup ecosystem. You've taken on leadership roles in emerging startups, and what does communication strategy look like when you're trying to position a new brand in a crowded space?
So, see, early stage brands don't need a very loud messaging or, all guns out kind of a thing. What they need is a very sharper messaging, right? So, for say a startup, a strong narrative is very foundational. So it tells you the world
Mm,
that why did we have to come up with XYZ problem that we are solving, or a product or a solution, right? So startups don't operate at a slower or a methodological speed as the well-established organizations do.
a traditional
Startups,
company would operate.
yeah. So startups operate at only two speeds. One is fast and then faster, right? So this is what my experience
Yeah.
has been, right? Because in startups, everything has to be quick, everything has to be
Yeah.
fast. You are kind of helping in shaping the identity of a brand before even the world knows that this organization exists, right? So you're helping founders to articulate why they matter or what differentiates them. Or in early stage, like narrative is actually your strategy. So if the story isn't clear, then the growth is also not clear.
Hmm.
So
Right.
this this is what I would have to, I have to share when it comes to my startup stories.
You actually worked in multiple different industry segments like real estate, education, consumer goods, technology. How do you adapt your brand voice to industries with vastly different audience mindsets? How do you, reorganize your mind and then talk about now I want to focus on this and this, how a agency person would adapt himself. So how do you do this when you're actually moving from a completely different one sector to a completely different sector?
See, I knew this question will come, right? Because I've got quite a vast industry experience. But
Fast.
every industry has its own emotional driver, all right, which is
Hmm.
safety, aspiration, discovery, trust.
Hmm.
So I have learned that by the end of the day, authenticity is constant in every industry. So that's how
Hmm.
I have been able to maneuver, kind of move around, be it in real estate, education, or CSR, or cybersecurity. So the shift has never been about personality or how the industry moves. It has been more about understanding the emotional currency and being authentic. Because
Hmm.
every industry, every organization, they are somehow in any form or whatsoever, they're trying to either sell a product or they're trying to sell a service, right? So that thing remains the same. And in brand and comms, I feel that is something which is constant across industries, that you have to create a narrative. You have to kind of push your product or services, right? So like for say example, in real estate, customers look for what? Security, that this product will be
Hmm.
delivered, this project will be delivered, right? In say uh, cybersecurity, you are trying to sell or you're trying to market trust, right? So that's how I have been able to maneuver among all the industries, and it's been a decent journey so far, I feel.
Yeah, as
But
if that
cybersecurity
wasn't
happened by
enough.
cybersecurity happened by fluke. I'm not a techie, and I just had a friend who thought that I was quite apt to join his organization, and
Yeah.
he thought I could learn and I could grow in this industry, and because of that, I got into it.
In fact, a lot of industries do this. They pick up communicators from completely different domains so that a communicator can get that understanding. Say a real estate company can get a tech focused PR guy into that. So a lot of things changes with that also. I think companies also benefit with diverse experienced people and not only the sectoral experienced people.
Yeah, I hope that I have been able to justice wherever I've been picked up and wherever I've been asked to, complete a task, or I
Yeah.
hope that I've done a decent job.
And apart from working in multiple domains, you also have been guest faculty and MDP trainer. So how do you see the relationship between education, personality development, and brand building works?
See, that is completely out of personal interest, right?
Hmm.
So I used to feel when I was a student, right? I used to feel
Hmm.
that okay, after an MBA, I'm going to be sitting on a very cushy seat in the office. I'll have my own cubicle, like how the impression used to be, right? But nobody used to speak about roughing it out,
Hmm.
and nobody used to speak about standing in a retail store wearing a company T-shirt and
Hmm.
attending to customers and
I'll
all
come
of
to
those
that
things.
too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it has been a part of the journey. So I used to feel that, if at all I could get that platform where I could go and educate the students that, it's not that easy unless you're from Harvard, right? But from
Yeah.
not B schools like I'm from Amity International Business School. And so you have to rough it out. You have to learn.
Mm,
And I used to, kind of have issues initially, struggling and trying to kind of understand why am I doing this and why am I asked to do this. But I understood that, if I am not there on the ground and I have not learned it, I will not be able to sit in a corporate office and expect people to do their jobs or to deliver the tasks that I'm expecting them to do. And I will
mm,
not be happy. Those kind of understandings, it came only after experience. And I thought that it would be nice if I could educate, uh, students, those who are on the same path as me. And an opportunity struck, and people approached me, and they said that why don't you come and take certain modules as a guest lecturer for integrated marketing communications. And that came in, and because of my that stint, those MDP programs came in. And
mhm.
I got an opportunity to go and train sales and retail teams of various corporates over the course of period.
Nice. Tell me, what has been your most challenging in brand repositioning or communication campaign so far? And what did you learn from
um, I don't have a story like that, to be very honest. I you know
it? That's being complete,
I'm being very
truly
honest.
honest.
Yeah, I don't have a story like that. I have done campaigns. I have done things wherein everything was pre-decided, right?
Mm,
I mean, like, it did not come across as only I had to do it. I had multiple people helping me out with developing the strategy and then going ahead with things. So I don't have a story. I'm so sorry, but I don't have a story like that to tell you. But I could definitely tell you about my experiences over the campaigns and strategies that we have
mm.
done for various organizations over the years.
Go ahead, tell me one.
So which sector do you want to take on? Tell me that.
Pick up the most interesting one. We've spoken a lot on cybersecurity, maybe real estate. That's where a lot of crises keep happening.
So, my real estate journey, if I share here, I would get a lot of backlash later. But yes, I could talk about an experience wherein I was managing a client, right, from JLL side, and we had a couple of sold out properties from their side.
Mm,
So, Mega Mall, I don't know if you're aware of
mm.
it, Gurgaon, used
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be one
yeah.
of those malls early on, wherein
Mm,
it was a sold out mall, and it wasn't doing as well as other malls. So it took us a lot of effort, and thanks to my seniors and everybody else, those who actually helped us out. And we were now, if you see Mega Mall, right, we started changing the whole narrative around it, getting more kiosk out there, getting better brands out there. So that entire process of repositioning happened during those years. So
mm.
real estate, that is one story that I could give you, because Mega Mall now is quite a buzz across that golf course area road.
Tell me, how has digital transformation reshaped corporate communication, especially from emerging brands and sectors, and what has been your experience?
I feel that it has kind of shortened the distance between brand and its audience. I don't know if you'll agree to it or not, but I actually feel that it has kind of shortened the distance. So you're not hiding behind long lead times anymore, right? Reactions are real, immediate, and transparent. And
Mm,
brands that communicate consistently, not just creatively, but consistently, they stand out. So
mm,
it is a sort of what do you call, digital rewards coherence kind of a thing. So it rewards clarity, right, but it
mm.
also punishes over promising. So this shift
Correct.
has kind of actually made communication more accountable and more authentic. So
True.
I feel that digital has not made communication harder, but it's made it more honest, wherein your biggest advantage is your consistency and how you're communicating and how you are trying to get to your audience, wherein most of the stuff is obsessed with monetary attention. That's what I feel.
Mm. True. A lot of brands today want some kind of partnership going along with larger brands, brands from different domains. What makes a partnership truly strategic from a communications lens, according to you?
I feel it's not just it doesn't just elevate your narrative. It is just collaboration, right?
Mm.
Because a partnership is strategic only if it expands both in value and in perspective.
Mm.
Okay, so true partnerships should shift perception or open new audiences, or share, have a shared ownership as an outcome. So I personally feel that it is strategic only when both the sides are working stronger hand in hand, not just in terms of visibility.
Right. Now, coming to our younger communications professionals, what is one communication myth you would love to bust for early stage entrepreneurs or young PR professionals?
Okay. So
Here also, you can be honest.
so one myth I would love to bust is that branding is mostly aesthetics and content volume. Okay, a lot of people think that
Mm.
branding is just aesthetics and content volume, which is not. Branding is alignment between who you are, what you say, how you behave, and how your brand should communicate with the audience. So it is not just pomp and show. So it is alignment between lot of different segments. So it isn't decoration, it is more of direction, I would say. So a lot of people feel that
Mm.
branding is all about pomp and show and direction and going over the top. It is not. So if the alignment is missing, no amount of content can save your perception building.
Correct.
So it has
One of
it
my
has to.
professors used to say, yes, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying that communication starts with intention, not with activity or
Yeah.
exaggerating things. Yeah.
Correct. One of my professors used to tell me that PR is 95% execution and only 5% strategy. But today, every new person wants to come and do strategy first and then execution later. Yeah.
Yeah, because we have become more conscious about how we are perceived and whether the right communication is going or not, whether the intention with what we are trying to communicate is, reaching out to the end consumer or target audience in the right manner or not. So initially, we just had to push the product. Now we are
Mm.
also taking an account that, okay, what problem our product is solving, what is the intent, how is it perceived, right? So all of those things have come into picture.
So, finally, what's next for Manmeet? What aspect of branding or communication excites you, most to look ahead for each day you go to office?
I I think I'm just drawn to work that sits at the intersection of technology, impact, and human behavior. Next chapter, I don't know. I think more towards meaningful stories and impact, meaningful teams, you know,
Mm.
because I think after so many years of working, I'm at a stage where I value depth over noise.
Mhm.
So I want to build narratives and brands that actually shift something and not just occupy space. So probably, yeah, let's see what
Is there any
works, what
sector that you
doesn't.
still want? Is there any
Huh?
sector that you still want to? Is there any sector that you still want to experience?
No, I'm happy in the space that I am right now. I'm very happy in the space I'm right now
Very
because
diplomatic answer.
I've already juggled between so many industries. So yeah, so I can say this. I've been very honest throughout, but I can actually say this. I'm in a very happy space right now, and there's a lot to learn. When I
Mm.
was working with think tank, my idea of cybersecurity was very different, right?
Mm.
And even though we had great clients and we were working with the tech giants and who's who of the industry, and even in the ministries and all that stuff, right? So my still, I used to feel that there's a lot to learn, and I used to keep feeling that there is. I'm nowhere in terms of tech know-how, and I should learn more, and I should get to know more, get in the depth of things. After coming to Pure ID, I've realized I knew nothing about cybersecurity. What I
Mm.
was doing was very different, and cybersecurity also has multiple layers. And
Yes.
surprisingly, whoever I tell that I'm in cybersecurity, they are like very interested to know what do I do. But when they get to know I'm a non-techie, they often wonder that okay, she's probably caught hold of the catchwords and buzzwords, and she's just utilizing it and moving forward. But I'm learning, and the learning in this particular industry has been a constant thing, and it kind of pushes you rather to get better at your job because technology is evolving. All right,
Mm.
every second day there's a new technology coming in, and the complexity of it, and the pressure to ensure that complexities I'm able to put forward to my audience and to my end consumer in a very simplest manner. So I
Yeah.
try my best to simplify the most complex terminologies and notions and topics, but yeah, still learning, still doing it. And I'm happy that this learning curve is continuing. So, not a diplomatic answer. So, that's why I said that I'm still learning and I'm still doing it. And I'm quite happy in the space that I am.
Great, Manmit. Thank you for this expansive, real, and insightful conversation. You showed us how brand communication can be thoughtful without being preachy, strategic without losing soul, and always deeply human. To our audience, if this episode inspired you, share it with your team, tag up peer, and follow Wikipedia.com for more conversations like this. Until next time, keep building stories that matter. Thank you so much. Thank you, Manmit. Thank you so much for being with us here.
Thank you. I hope I made sense to whatever I said.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.